Hello my friends, thanks for tuning in. This video is going to follow a certain color scheme. It was in my comments section. Somebody asked for a greens and berries look and I thought, ooh, I couldn't get it out of my mind. It made me picture like berries or grapes on a vine, you know, like the richness kind of entering into fall. We're not talking soft pastels, we're talking rich, like maybe olive and forest greens in with some beautiful berry colors. So I've done my face coverage steps already in my brows, so we can just have fun filling in the blanks with this color concept. Here's what I have on my skin already. I went with my Sweat on Lock primer that I've been wearing a lot these days from Hard Candy. I use Maybelline Superstay foundation or skin tint as it's called. 130 is my shade in that. This is a new little product. I was sent this in PR, Too Faced Born This Way Super Coverage Brighten and Correct. And this is the pink like brightening shade in that. And so that's on my under eye area and I thought, wow, that did a really good job. I used my Wet n Wild Photo Focus Loose Powder to set my under eye and T-zone. I used Laura Geller Balance and Brighten. This is in the medium shade. I've got that setting all over my face. Went for my Morphe Cloud Light in Sunset just to bronze up a little bit, and then my brows are Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil shade 4 and Maybelline Super Lock in deep brown. The next step I'm going to dive into is the blush, and I was just thinking with fall in mind, I know it's not fall yet, but it's around the corner and I wanted some intensity here. So I thought about this Too Faced Cloud Crush Whipped Lip and Cheek. I've got this like really rich berry tone here called Hopeful Romantic, and I thought it could look good. I pulled out my Southern Spring. Kind of funny how it says spring, but the color scheme is exactly what I'm wanting with these greens and the berries, and I just felt like this and this should look really good together. So what I'm going to do with my Cloud Crush is get a little dot at first on my cheeks, and I'm going to take my Sephora 56 and start blending this out. It's a little goes a long way product, but not quite as much that way as like a Rare Beauty one. The whipped nature of this blush makes it a little more easily blendable. So that's definitely one reason why I chose this formula. I think it's easier to work with, but also I can coordinate my lip and cheek really well. You know, the opaque take on this color will be on my lips. The sheer take on my cheeks, I'm going to now add more. But yeah, if you haven't tried these before, the texture is kind of mousse-like actually. But yet there's more creaminess to it than the mousses that are just in the little pots, you know? Now we're really seeing that color. I don't want it to be subtle. Okay, I'm loving it. It's basically the sheared out take on what's going to show up with more intensity elsewhere on the face. Let's go ahead and throw the lip on. If you're really like setting your mind toward doing a cohesive look where the color is super connected throughout the face, I think a dual lip and cheek product makes it really easy. Here we are, just getting that on there. And Sydney Grace, by the way, at the time I'm shooting this, it's Tuesday the 18th. I think they've got their sale, big sale underway. And I do plan to try some stuff from that. Ooh. Even just like this, even with the eye not done, I think that looks pretty. So again, that shade is called Hopeful Romantic. It's the Too Faced Cloud Crush Whipped Lip and Cheek. There's our starting point. Now we're going to fill in with the eyes. First, we're going to just do some eyeshadow primer. This is Milani's today. One thing I have realized is that Milani never lets me down on staying power. If I really want something in it for the long haul, I know I can trust my Milani. So we're swiping that all over the lid. For my eyeshadow, my thought is really leaning into like this kind of color in my crease and fanning it up a lot and letting the green take shape on the lids. So this is the one called Sweet Tea. It's right in the middle. And hopefully we feel like this draws back to the lip color really nicely. On the initial application here, the lip is more berry, the eye is more grape. Like I almost feel like I need a little more pinky hue blending out of this, but that's okay, I got a plan. After getting that shade blended out, I mean, it's great for richness, but I feel like I want just a little more drawing back into the pink. I have this other Sydney Grace palette called Raspberry Kiss, and I feel like there will be something in here that I can use that's going to really coordinate. I'm thinking this one here, even though it's a shimmer called Be Kind, it's going to have some pigment and it's going to look pretty. I just tapped into it with the same crease brush. It just needs something to kind of fade up there, you know? I'm getting all blended out here. I think I'm liking where this is going. I just needed something that provided a little softening there. Now I'm going back to Southern Spring and back to the shade I started with, but with a flat brush this time. That's gonna go on my outer corner because I want something for those beautiful shimmery greens in the bottom row to kind of fade into. So I'm patting on the outer corner and I'm lifting up and we'll probably blend once again. But I think I'm gonna love this color combo, guys. Just patting on. I'm not doing anything hugely different for shape than what I might normally do, except maybe intensifying it outward just a bit more, okay? And you can do that by taking your flat brush. You were patting it on this way, you twist it, you take that surface that had product on it, and you just start lifting. You can feel it tucking into the crease and then pulling out. That's one of the easiest ways to create lift in the area where you want it. And then you got that crease brush. Have fun, blendy blend. I also think maybe even some of this shade down here called, and we're back to Raspberry Kiss, one called Role Model. We're just kind of playing. Isn't that what you do sometimes with a palette? Like, you can have a plan, but it's fun to be able to bounce around. That's what a palette allows you to do with all the different shades. Bounce around, see what you like. I'm coming out kind of far with it over here, and I'm kind of like, ooh, stay in your lane. Don't go down too far. Sometimes where a small pointed brush comes in well, I'm going back to Southern Spring. I'm just making sure I've got my shape and my intensity exactly where I want it here on the outer edge. Okay, very good. Then down at the bottom of my palette, these are the two shimmers I'm talking about. So I want this one to go on first, more toward the outside, and then merge into this one. So this one's called Kentucky Derby, and I'm going to take my Morphe M302, which is my medium flat brush, into Kentucky Derby. And that's going to really pop on here, center of the lid style. Right in here, it does have shimmer. It's a really pretty olive green. But leave the inner third of your lid bare and let it kind of overlap our darkest shade here in the outside. See how it's important to think about, you know, just because you're slapping a color on there, think of what is it going to fade into? What depth is going to contrast with it and help it really stand out? Ooh, I'm loving that. And then I'm going to take the Masters, which is right here, a little lighter olive, and that's going to be the inner lid. Don't be scared to let it come up. Like as you look down into your mirror, let that come up and even past that little inner part of your crease. Come up a little bit higher. Really take up that room. This whole look I think really could have been turned out with this palette and this palette alone that I'm holding here, the Southern Spring, but I was just looking to pink it up a little more. And what I think I'm ultimately going to do is maybe deepen up my lip a little more. It might sound crazy, but my gut is saying blend in a little bit of Milani's Rich Cocoa from the Understatement lip liner line and kind of work a little bit of this in from the outsides. Now I'm hitting on the level of darkness I was wanting. Another good liner you could use in this way would be Revlon's Chocolate, Revlon Color Stay. But that Too Faced just got a little more pinky in comparison to the eye than I was wanting. For upper lash line, here's what I'm thinking. Aubergine from ABH. This liquid liner is like a really deep berry, and I think it would be beautiful crossing the upper lash line. And then my lower lash line is going to continue to be very olive focused. So this is super deep and dark. It's not going to be like, oh, a real color punch with this step. But we know that instead of just being black, it actually is more of a berry. I'm thinking of extending it for a little bit of a wing too. Why not? I'm having fun today. I've said this so much before, but it doesn't have to be some big special occasion to have fun with your makeup. It can be a random Tuesday. Who says you can't enjoy this process? And come up with whatever color combo your heart desires, you know? What's sticking out to you is like colors you like together in clothes. Think about it. Work it into an eye look. I love working with these liners because they're so precise and so juicy. And then I'm just extending out, like I'm pretty much doing my whole regular lash line that I'm following. And then I go a little shy of the end and I just pop it up like it's pointing at the tip of my brow and then bring it up from the bottom, and you make like a little triangle that you end up filling in there, okay? I know it doesn't always feel quite that easy when you're in the process, but that's what I'm thinking of whenever I'm doing that type of wing. I made this one a little bigger to match. For the lower lash line, I think I'm going to take my L'Oreal Lace Shadow Stick in Twilight Emerald. Okay, this is going to go right down here, and I'm doing it softly. A lot of this wants to lay down at once. I'm getting it even just under my wing, smudge that out. Soft pressure about 2/3 of the way across the eye. We're going to use our eyeshadow to soften this more. But an immediate smudge with your finger can be nice because these do want to set up and last. So that's giving us the depth. It's giving us some green, but now we're gonna really, you know, customize the green more into this color, but deeper, because it is going over this darkness. I'm going to clean off my Profusion small pointed brush, go into Kentucky Derby, and I'm going to lay that down right on top of what I just did, okay? And then continue inward where it's just the shadow. Okay, can you see where we're going with this? Using that lower lash line as another place to put some color. Go over where you did the shadow stick. That's going to give it a little more color intensity, a little more pop. And then just keep rolling inward under the eye, toward your inner corner with this. To make the whole look seem a little softer, you could skip lower lash line, you could go with a softer lip. You got options. This is just what I'm choosing to do. The moment this video request came into my mind, I thought about making it bold. Only other thing that might be fun to do, if you have any kind of wispy brush like this Sigma E36, it's very fine and wispy, going into that shade called Sweet Tea that we've been playing with in the outer corner all along. Really ultra light application of that. Just right out in here. Okay. You can also do this really softly with your crease brush, but there's something about this that just makes it so detailed, confined to exactly where you want it placed. Now that so much of the look is done. I think this is so fun. I'm gonna put on my mascara and I'll be back. Here's the finished face. I'm so happy with how it turned out, seeing the mascara on there. I went with CoverGirl Exhibitionist Stretch and Strengthen on top, giving me a really thick lash look up there, and then e.l.f. Lash Extender on the lower lashes. And then I popped on, I decided I wanted a little shine on the lips. And I went with Choco Luxe from e.l.f., the glimmer version of the Glow Reviver lip oil. I thought it might just kind of neutralize the pink a little bit, and I think it's perfect. Like, I do want some of that berry to sing on the lips even more than the eyes, but it's tying back in a really pretty way, and I just love the green pop. The cheeks are looking good as well. Great idea. Thank you so much to the person who requested this look. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again very soon. I love you. Bye.